Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Please check out the KCC Discord linked in the description down below. There you can talk to me and a whole bunch of KCC fans who hang out there on a regular basis. I look forward to seeing you there. Our first story today comes to us from Personal Lavishness 4. Just load the darn trailer. Let's jump right in. I used to work as quality assurance and control at a flour mill. For you to sink your teeth into your sandwich of delicious fresh bread, 3 things have to happen. 1. Flour has to be made. This happens at a flour mill. 2. Flour has to get to the bakery. This usually happens by a trailer and truck. The trucking company, usually a separate company or business from the flour mill, has to pull their trailer up to the scale and get loaded. They then drive it to the bakery. 3. Bakery, where they make that high-carb goodness with crusts that your kids hate. One day, I get a call from one of the bakers we serve. We unloaded the flour today, and our camera's got a bunch of dough balls going into the silo. Unacceptable. How can this happen? Trucks have to be washed every 3 to 4 weeks. If the trailer is not dried properly, then it retains some water from the final rinse. It mixes with the flour, creates dough, and delivers a subpar product. It causes a fermentation reaction. For some reason, since I'm quality control at the mill, everyone looked at me to fix this problem, which is really a problem with the trucking company and the wash stations they use. But I rose to the challenge. I called a meeting of the trucking company, the mill, and the bakery. I told them what was going on, explained that it was unacceptable, and came up with a plan. Before loading, every freshly washed trailer has to be inspected by me or someone else on quality control. We will not load trailers that the mill quality control does not release for loading. They all quickly agree. Great idea! I got congratulations on fixing the problem. Until one Monday morning. We were supposed to load a trailer at 3 a.m. I was not supposed to be working then, but I came in just to inspect and sign off on the trailer. Delivery was at 7 a.m. It's a 3-hour drive to the bakery. Bob, the driver, was running late. I was getting mad, kept thinking of my bed and how I should be sleeping. Bob shows up at 3:30 a.m. with the trailer. Damn traffic, let's load this quick, maybe I can still make it. Hold on, I have to inspect it. No you don't, I have to make this delivery. Bob, I'm inspecting the trailer before we load it. Cursing ensues. He starts making colorful accusations of my mother and my entire ancestral line. I ignore him. I climb up on top of the trailer, soaking wet. I can see water on the bottom. The entire trailer was damp. I come down. Bob, we can't load this trailer. It's wet. You need to dry it. Drying takes about 25 to 40 minutes depending on the weather. More cursing. Finally, he says, "No, I'm not losing my job to bureaucrats who have no idea what traffic is like. I'm not drying this trailer. You're going to load the trailer and I'm going to be on my way, like I've been doing for years." I was so tired, and I had a short fuse. "Bob, are you going to dry the trailer?" "No." Malicious compliance ensues. Okay. I went to the head miller on site. I told him that the trucking company is refusing to dry the trailer. I'm not wasting any more time here. I've done my job. I inspected the trailer. I'm going home. And I'm going to sleep. I left. Bob found out I had left, and he said to loaders, "Great, now you can load me up." They informed him that they couldn't load freshly washed trailers without quality signing off. And now, no one is here to sign off. So, sorry, you're going to miss the delivery. Bob called his boss. He complained that we were refusing to load his trailer. His boss called the head miller, who explained, per our agreement, quality couldn't sign off on a wet trailer. And since Bob refused to dry the trailer, quality's job was done. They inspected the trailer. There wasn't going to be another inspection, since the trailer was not going to be dry, so quality left. You need to call the bakery and tell them. They wanted the mill to take the blame. Oh, don't worry, we will be sure to call. And the head miller told the bakery what happened. The bakery fired the trucking company. Bob got fired from the trucking company. I got promoted. Just kidding, I didn't get promoted. Somehow, my manager still blamed me for it. Something about using creative solutions, but nothing ever happened to me because of this incident. I don't care. No regrets. So what did we learn from this story? Well, don't mess with the inspector. I guess there's also no loafing around when it comes to drying out your trailer, even though it's a real pain in the buns. Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from FMintar1. You want me to abandon my position and do something else? You got it. Let's jump right in. I was listening to a story a couple minutes ago about a manager at a retail store, and this triggers my memory a while ago at my very first job. I was around 16, male at the time, when I was being offered to work at a community center for 2 nights, making $70 a week. As a high schooler, $70 a week makes me feel like the richest kid in school. So I agreed. My main job is cafeteria assistant from 5:30 to 9 p.m., and it's extremely relaxing most of the time. I just have to prep, cook very little, handle cashier stuff, and help the main cook, which is around 80 female. So she does need a bit of physical assistance as well. It's not difficult by any means, and after a while, I started to understand the pattern on when it's busy time and when it's relaxing time. The reason they open the cafeteria around that time is, during those hours, they open the gym floor for bingo night. There are staff outside the cafeteria as well who are selling bingo tickets, number callers, greeters, and the manager. At random times, when it's usually quiet in the cafeteria, my manager asked if I can help the floor by going around selling tickets and merchandise. Usually, it was at reasonable times when I know I can leave my main cook to be on her own, so I never refused. Also, the customers sometimes gave me tips when their tickets are a winner, so that's good as well. One day, when I came to one of my shifts, I suddenly felt like something was off. The hall is packed more than usual. Even a few people are standing while playing bingo because all of the chairs and tables are occupied. By that time, I know that the cafeteria is going to be busy, so I waste no more time and get to work on lots of prepping and boiling hot dogs. I was prepping extra because I'm anticipating the dinner rush. During the prepping time, my manager suddenly came to the cafeteria, and without hesitation, she told me to drop whatever I'm doing and go out to the floor to help her sell tickets. I told her that I just got here and my plan to prep extra for the dinner rush, but she wouldn't budge. Even the words of the main chef falls on her deaf ears. She told me that I have prepped enough and to stop wasting time. Well, who am I to question a manager's decision, right? Cue malicious compliance. I happily obliged to her order, took the tickets off her hands, and off I go. Not a minute after I got to the floor, I saw the very first customer coming to the window of the cafeteria. And I was immediately thinking, let the games begin. The customers versus manager, not the bingo. From the floor, I can see into the inside of the cafeteria, and my manager, who didn't get a chance to leave after telling me to go out, has to serve the customer, because the main chef is taking over my duty to prep. However, like I mentioned earlier, the main chef is an 80-year-old senior, so her taking over my duty is almost impossible. Here's the list of my duties during prepping. Refilling condiments bottles from the heavy gallons. Refilling sugar from the big bag. Cutting vegetables for hot dog toppings. Carrying cases of water and sodas to be chilled in the fridge. Brewing coffee and tea. Boiling hot dogs. Stacking donuts. Handling transactions. Sweep and mop after closing. Here is the main chef's duty, making hoagies and salads, monitoring my tasks. I'm literally doing all of the heavy lifting because I'm physically capable, she is not. She is even having trouble handling transactions because her eyesight isn't good. It takes her a short while to determine certain dollar bills. Anyway, that one customer at the cafeteria becomes 2. Then, after a few seconds, my prediction was correct. After I made it down to the end of the gym floor, I turned back, and there is now a long line of customers in front of the cafeteria. I can't hear what's going on because the end of the gym floor is pretty far from the cafeteria, but I can judge by the silhouette of my manager's body movement and the customer in front of her that things do not look good. I think my manager saw me looking at the cafeteria because she's clearly waving at me, assuming telling me to go back. We don't have microphones in the cafeteria. However, instead of walking back in line at the second column directly back to the cafeteria, I started walking to the furthest corner of the gym floor from the cafeteria. pretending to sell tickets when all I'm doing is chatting with the player during the short break. The player was my favorite customer as well, and she did buy a few tickets from me. Right after I made the transaction, the bingo caller has started to make an announcement that they're going to start again in 30 seconds. I took a quick look at the cafeteria and it looked chaotic. From the looks of the silhouette, it looks like my manager is having an argument with a couple of irate customers. Again, I'm just assuming that my manager isn't quick enough to get the order out before the game started. I was chilling there for about 25 seconds, watching the chaos unfold, before the bingo caller announced that he's going to start in 5 seconds. Immediately, all of the customers in line have disbanded and go to their original place, hungry and thirsty and still irate. I started walking again, and I see that my manager has now disappeared from the cafeteria and started walking towards me on the floor, looking disheveled. Calmly, I asked if everything is okay in there. She looked mad, but she knows better not to explode in front of all the players, and just told me as calmly as she could to go back to the cafeteria. I tried poking the bear by asking her what to do with the tickets, because I still have some. She just snatched it off my hands aggressively along with the money. But from the shock of her aggression, I accidentally dropped everything to the floor. Imagine playing 52 catch, but with money and bingo tickets. Before I could offer my help to pick everything up, she just growled at me silently to just go. Alright then. When I'm back, it was a mess. There are some water bottles and soda cans rolling on the floor. The main chef is sitting down on the chair looking exhausted. I really feel bad for her. Coffee pots are empty. Condiments are smeared all over the table, and so on. It's pure chaos. Luckily, I know the routine well enough to recover the situation, and at the next break, I was prepared well enough to handle the wave of customers, even the previously irate ones. The main chef has recovered enough too. Fortunately, most of the regulars already know me, so they're nice and patient with me, instead to my manager, who didn't know as much as me about the cafeteria. After the wave is over, I took the time to prep again for the next one, and suddenly my manager walked in. It looks like she calmed down just enough to compose herself to approach me. Instead of walking away, she's coming at me. Uh-oh. After seeing the state of recovery I just pulled, she asked why I didn't come back when the cafeteria was busy. I told her that I didn't know. I was too far, and she told me to sell tickets. So I assumed that I'm not allowed to come back until I sold everything. She didn't really have much to say after that, took a bottle of water, and just left. The main chef and I just started laughing silently after the manager left. Never underestimate the pettiness of a teenager. Well, at least me when I was a teenager. Haha. You know through this whole story that cook was just sitting back, smiling inside while going about their work, knowing that manager was going to absolutely screw themselves. I honestly think this manager should spend more time in the cafeteria though. You should know the jobs that you're managing before you're even allowed to manage them. Come on. This next story comes to us from Delish Donut. Keep all the accidental tickets? Sure thing. Let's jump right in. So, I work in a food-to-go department in a semi-large grocery shop. Up until a couple of years ago, it was owned and run by a real arse of a man. Let's call him Boris. He was picky, arrogant, sexist, rude, etc., etc. He was only in for a couple of hours a day, but would then be monitoring the CCTV and calling in every 5 minutes to tell someone to do something. And even worse, a couple of the managers would brown nose very hard. They'd side with him, say we were sneaky in our own department and probably were stealing. Anyway, in my department, we would serve people their food and they would put it into their cart and have to pay for it along with all the rest of their groceries at the checkouts. We didn't handle money. We would just use a computer that would tally up all their items and produce a barcode that we could stick on their food. Now, the way the computer worked was anything we typed in, even if we canceled it out, would still be transmitted to the checkout system, so the shop could record what and how much of each thing is selling. This meant, though, that items people never actually bought were still being transmitted and recorded as sold, but no transaction or money ever followed. For example, someone comes to Food to Go, orders several items, and I tally it all up, only for the customer to change their mind and not want the food anymore. Price put them off, or any other customer is always right BS. Or sometimes, customers just wanted to know how much a certain combination of food would cost. So we'd type it all in, regardless of if they go through with it. This meant that Boris thought either the customers were shoplifting food, or we, the staff, were stealing. I don't understand that logic, but I digress. To tackle this issue, we were told to start recording every single time items were input into the system, but no food was actually making its way to the checkout. Every time someone wanted to know the potential total, we'd print a ticket. Every time we mistyped or pressed the wrong button, or a customer changed their mind, or they wanted to add on more or remove something, we printed that ticket. By the end of the day, there would be dozens, if not hundreds of tickets being recorded. Every day, we brought an A0 page covered front to back in stickers to the office for the manager to go through. Their heart sank every time. They had to painstakingly go through the sales and cross-reference with the codes of the tickets to make sure there was no stolen goods. This was an added job that was not quick, on top of an already huge to-do list the managers had in there. Sometimes several days or a week's worth would collect before they got to it. A few months in, and this new process was abandoned. I don't know how they got around it, but another 6 months later, and Boris sold the shop. Whoever decided to put that software into a production environment should be taken out back end. Well, we'll just leave it at that. It makes absolutely no sense for the system to record sales at the cash register when the customer's not even there yet. This next story comes to us from Shaftway. You're going to assign me to make balloon animals at a site with no kids? Okay, I'll just do my job. Let's jump right in. Way back in the long ago, in the before times, mid-level chain restaurants would have these people walk around to make balloon animals for kids as they waited for their food. I was a teenager and needed money, so I did this for a while. The restaurant would pay this agency, and they would tell us what restaurant to go to and when. Key to this story is that we were not paid. On an average night, I'd make around $50 in tips over 3 hours. On special nights, it could be as high as $200. But if there were no customers, I'd make nothing. After working for several months, I must have fallen out of someone's favor, and I got assigned to a restaurant in the business district. I have no idea why they wanted someone making balloon animals there. The key audience was kids, and I never saw anyone there under 30. The first night there, I made $5, which wasn't even enough to cover mass transit to and from the location. After being assigned there twice in a row, I complained, but was told that if I didn't go, I'd be banned from any more assignments. Cue the malicious compliance. The next week when I was assigned there, which was the third time in a row, I waited until there were a couple guys at the bar that were tipsy. I go up and ask if they want balloon hats, no charge. They were hesitant, but I promised they'd be good. They agreed, and I got to work. I broke out all of my skills to make these hats that were clearly people in a cage. The people were all pink and had prominent bubbles on the chest and derriere. An inflated balloon tied around the waist made for a bikini bottom, and a carefully tied balloon in their hand made for a bikini top. They asked what it was, and I told them a stripper in a cage. They loved it. I got a $20 tip, but more importantly, they went to every person in the restaurant to show off their strippers in cages hats. They demanded to talk to the manager to tell him how awesome it was. The super uptight fundamentalist manager. Manager was majorly pissed and told me to go home early. Agency called, pissed off, but I used my most innocent voice to tell them I was just making what the customer asked for, and I didn't know they'd make a scene. Agency said, well, they banned you from ever coming back. The next week, I was back to another $17 an hour location. Hey OP, I think you're missing out on an opportunity. You should go knock on the doors of some of the strip clubs in town, because I'm sure they would love to have your skills there. Imagine all the things you could make out of balloons that relate to their business. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.